Are you guys ready for the truth? My name is Jack. Multiple personality disorder was renamed in 1994. They made it dissociative identity disorder in 1994, nearly 30 years ago. 30 years ago. That's the truth. Thank you, Google, for this information. They're the same disorder.
Hello.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Acrylic and Aether, where we touch on the lesser seen sides of dissociative disorders.
I'm Chloe.
And I'm Kai.
And today we're going to be talking about the video that shall not be named. So we're not going to bash on her, and we are going to more so touch on the misinformation she gave, what she got right, and the things you shouldn't feel guilty about if you watch this video and you related to anything in the video.
So yeah, starting out, don't go witch hunting Trisha. Calling someone fake is really hurtful to both parties, and it's also harmful to the d.i.d. community itself.
So if we catch anybody calling Trisha fake, we're in our comments, we're gonna delete those. We're not gonna dispute anything. We're not gonna make a scene about it. But we believe hardcore that nobody should be called fake. It doesn't feel good when it happens to us. Probably doesn't feel good when it happens to you. Let's keep it real, guys.
The d.i.d. community is built on support and education. Many diagnosed systems get called fake, and undiagnosed systems really get it. So be respectful, because you may not know that person. You may not know what exactly is going on in their head.
Videos like the one that shall not be named spread misinformation and can be really damaging to our community and the stigma we have fought to dismember. If you want to advocate for d.i.d, great, but please make yourself informed before you make videos like this to prevent the spread of false information. Just so we can touch on a little bit of basis, you are responsible for your system's actions, even if somebody else comes out and does something that you don't necessarily know about. If somebody comes up to you and is upset visibly, it's your responsibility to apologize, even if you don't remember doing it, because you are a system and you have to take responsibility for your mental health. We can't blame our disorder for things that we do, and we have to take responsibility in general. So I understand that can be hard at times because you don't remember, but it's just something that us with multiple alters have to deal with and understand.
And we're going to throw in a few definitions here just to help out people who are new to this information. So there's actually a difference between dissociation and disassociation. They're two different words. Now, dissociation, if you're talking about dissociative identity disorder, what's happening in your mind, I made a little phrase to help you remember. There is no ass in dissociation. And I'm putting that on the screen.
We've seen that going around a bit, and they started that. So if you see that going around, just give props to them, because they legitimately started that.
It's gonna be a sticker. But yeah, disassociation is like used to, like, you know, describe differences, like disassociating this pen from this box. They're not connected. I disassociate these two things. While dissociation is a feeling of disconnection from your body, usually caused by stress, or it could be just, you know, like zoning out is the most mild form of dissociation that you can see in day-to-day life. And then alter is an alternate identity seen in dissociative disorders like d.i.d. and OSDD, but the host is also counted as an alter. So an alter is like basically any identity in someone with a dissociative disorder. And then a system is a group of alters in one body. That's the word used to describe the collective, like the system as a whole. Yeah, a system is a person with d.i.d. An alter is not a person with DID. An alter is a part in the person with DID, while the system is the whole thing.
And we wanted to touch on the topic of self-diagnosis. We were self-diagnosed for 8 years until we got our official diagnosis, and it doesn't invalidate you to be self-diagnosed. What it does mean is that you are not professionally diagnosed and you haven't been evaluated for DID to be diagnosed with DID, and that can take up to a long time. So you can know that you have DID and not be diagnosed, and that doesn't make you any less valid of a system. Even if you are undiagnosed and you want to speak out on DID, please educate yourselves before you speak out on DID, because again, it can be damaging to the community. Dissociative identity disorder and multiple personality disorder are the same disorder. There are no differences between them. There are no similarities between them. They are literally the same disorder.
Which was renamed in 1994. And dissociation is actually a part of dissociative identity disorder, contrary to the name.
That's why it was renamed, because it has a lot more to do with the aspect of dissociation rather than the aspect of your alters. So dissociation has to go with dissociative identity disorder.
Yeah, it's a part of DID and not a separate affliction that's comorbid with DID. It's literally just part of it.
And then one thing that we're touching on is you don't become your friends when you have DID. This is more so a pack mentality that can happen with singlets as well. It is a way to identify with the group of people you're involved with. It's a sense of belonging rather than a symptom of dissociative identity disorder. So you can have this and not have DID, but you can also have this and have DID. So everyone can have this.
Another thing that people are endlessly surprised by is non-human alters. Now, non-human alters exist, and they're totally normal, a very, very common thing seen in people with DID. They could be animals, robots, aliens, even things like trees, rocks, and blankets, like objects. That's not unheard of. Those are in scientific studies. They're not just extra weird or extra quirky because of what they are. They're special because they had a different skill set that helped you to survive the trauma.
One thing she described in her video was a distancing between alters, and it sounded like she didn't really know how to describe what that was. And this is a normal thing that happens in DID, and it is actually caused by amnesia, barriers between alters. And this is one thing she got right. She just didn't know how to describe it, which, I mean, when you're new to anything, you probably don't have the words to describe most things. So it's not that she was ill-informed, it was more so she didn't know how to describe it.
Just simply lacking the information and the words to put to the feelings.
Mm-hmm. She was also mentioning that one of her alters had trauma at the age of 10. And while that can be a contributing factor, most likely she just doesn't remember the childhood trauma that actually happened to her. DID is caused by early childhood trauma. So trauma has to happen in the early childhood days in order for you to fragment. Her not remembering her trauma is just a part of DID, and it does not invalidate her. So just because something happened to her at the age of 10 doesn't necessarily mean she didn't have childhood trauma otherwise. Part of DID is not remembering, dissociating from the trauma. You don't know until you do.
A good way of putting this is something that Wynne from the entropy system said. The host's job is not knowing, so not knowing the trauma is very normal for the host. And alters are more than just another aspect of yourself, too. I'm pretty sure everyone has the idea of, work me, hungry me, at home me, going out with my friends me. But with alters, there's more memory loss involved, and there's more individualistic traits that differ and sometimes like clash with that of the hosts. Not knowing who you are and what you're like as yourself correlates a little bit more with depersonalization and derealization, where you're more disconnected from your sense of self and your surroundings.
All right, so this one we're probably going to touch on together. I really don't like that she called dissociated crazy. They are one of the most educated, well understood systems on YouTube.
They work so hard.
They're dedicated to educating the public. Like, please don't call them crazy. And honestly, don't call anyone crazy, and that includes yourself. That's hurtful to not just the community, but to yourself as well. Putting yourself in that kind of mindset, oh, I'm just crazy. Like, no, don't be that hard on yourself. Just because you have a disorder doesn't make you crazy. Like, it makes you a part of a community. We're not crazy, I promise you. And also another thing, crazy is not a term used in any form of psychology, in hospitals. Like, you're not crazy. It's not a thing. Stop using it. Love yourselves and everybody else. To go along with this, we feel like personalities is a more derogatory term. And this might just pertain to us. Some of you might feel like personalities fits your description of your system. For us, it feels like a derogatory term. It's used a lot to demean systems, to make them feel like they're crazy, in a way to write systems off. Mm-hmm. So for us, we feel like we are more than a personality. We're more than just a fragment of what the whole is. We are people, we are well defined, and our preferred term is alters.
And connecting with that, alters can get names in a variety of ways too. Like, some people talk about just like naming their alters, but that's not always just how it works. Some alters can name themselves, some can come into the system just already named, like, hey, what's up, I'm this. Or someone could help them choose or change their name. There's no really wrong way to be named as an alter. It kind of just happens a lot of the time.
I feel like we're doing more of the negative segments, but that's okay. We have a positive demeanor. Don't slander your alters. Alters have feelings. We're people too. When you're saying hurtful things about your alters, you're also saying hurtful things about yourself. But also, when you live in such close quarters, we're like a close-knit family. Your system was created to help you. And why would you slander somebody or make somebody feel bad that was originally created to help you? Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. I wouldn't call my friend a derogatory term. It doesn't feel right to slander anybody in your system.
Yeah, alters might seem like they're evil or like sluts or like there to inconvenience you, but they are all doing their things for reasons, and they were created to protect you. I'm gonna say to that, not calling them evil. Yeah, don't call them evil.
Keeping things light here, guys.
Yeah, alters may seem like they fit into like stereotype archetypes and such, but they're a lot more than a label, just like you are.
To relate on to that is, please respect your alter's pronouns. I noticed in the video she was calling one of her gender non-conforming alters he instead of they, which is their preferred pronouns. She even said that in the video, but then continued to refer to them as he.
So pronouns are just as important for alters as like people. And multiple alters can have the same traits just like normal people as well. Especially since a big part of d.i.d. is being invisible. If you pretend to be someone for long enough, the host in this case, you pick up some of their mannerisms like a habit. And that doesn't mean you're faking, it just means that it just kind of rubbed off on you like it would if you pretended to be any other person.
That also relates back to the feeling at home in your group. You know, if you live together and you talk together and you work together, you're gonna pick up some of the same mannerisms and habits.
That's just humanity.
It's how we figure out where we belong. Another thing she said that didn't really sit well with us was her talking about switching like it was a performance. I can't quote her directly because I don't have like a script in front of me or anything like that. But she said something along the lines of, I can't perform like some of the other systems can, or something along those lines. And it's true, a lot of systems can't switch on demand, but don't treat it like a performance. Switching isn't a party trick. It's a form of self-defense in some cases.
Yeah, even nowadays. And alters can stop fronting because of trauma as well. New traumas can overwhelm alters and push them back from the front. And the alter could even end up going dormant for a period of time, like we've recently had this happen in our own system. Link in the description if you want more information. But alters can't really die as if they had their own bodies out here. They can go dormant, they could just stop fronting, they could integrate with another alter, or they could just make the amnesia around themselves so bad that you think that they're dead. Throws shade internally, but alters don't really die. So now in reference to Trisha's alter, I don't know how you spell it. I think it was Trabolter. The captions on her vid got totally butchered. It didn't even give it a name. Half the time it said like bottle. It was wild. But she mentioned that he pretty much just eats all the time. And an important thing that may not have crossed her mind is why he eats all the time. It could be part of an eating disorder, like a binge eating disorder. Alters can have disorders of their own that are only like exclusive to them and not to the rest of the system. Or he could be a fragment. Like eating is his like sole purpose. Some alters are less defined than others and carry like one characteristic or like a purpose or an emotion, and that could be the case there. Or it could be representative of trauma, like of a time when you didn't have enough to eat. Asking why is super important when it comes to figuring out your alters in d.i.d. because alters do the things that they do for a reason, and a lot of the time that gets overlooked.
Simply eating isn't a personality. I'm just saying that, like, that could be a purpose, that could be an alter's purpose, but that's not their personality.
There's more there.
She had stated in the video that it was weird to talk about d.i.d, but d.i.d isn't something that should be weird to talk about. It should be normalized. We're destroying the stigma by talking about it, and it shouldn't be viewed as weird. It's very important to talk about it, and it's more than just dissociating things away.
It turns out that d.i.d is actually more common than schizophrenia and as common as bulimia, so it's not that rare.
She also mentioned that d.i.d was her way of dealing with life, and in a way I do understand what she was trying to say, but I feel like to a community that hasn't been exposed to d.i.d, that's probably not the right terminology to use. d.i.d is a coping mechanism. It is here to help you cope with the things that you wouldn't normally be able to cope with, especially with your past being trauma-based. By saying it in the way that she did, it sounds like you're just pushing off your life onto your alters. In reality, your alters are there to help you, but they're not there to take over your entire life. She also mentioned, because she has d.i.d, she will never be able to find love. And I want to let you all know that that's not true. Look at both of us. We're engaged. We're going to get married next year. We're happy. We're in a good relationship. Just because you have d.i.d doesn't mean you can't find love. Even in a singlet, even in another system, like you can find love, I promise. You're not unlovable.
d.i.d does not make you unlovable. And alters don't all look super different from the host when they front. I know that it was mentioned in the video, like, she was surprised how some other systems can just be completely different people, like 1 second versus the other after they switch. But that's not always the case with anybody with alters. They could be trying to be stealthy and trying to blend in and look like the host, or they just happen to have similar vibes as the rest of the system. Either way, that's valid. That's part of the covert aspect of d.i.d, which is the remaining invisible part of it. And some people are more overt, more open about their switches and who's out, but that's not a requirement of d.i.d. What?
We're talking about switches, so we dissociated and switched.
I was like, what are you doing with your face over there? I was like, I don't know what you're looking at, but I'm just gonna let you do that.
Dissociation. So, in all, don't try to educate if you're not educated yourself. We don't want to damage the community any more than it's already been damaged by the movies that shall not be named. If you want a good reference of basic information that is good to know, go ahead and look in our description for our video, Why You Don't Want d.i.d. It gives a good list of things we go through on daily life and our struggles and some terminology that's pretty good to know if you're going to be educating others about systems. It gives you a good baseline for starting out.
Yeah, there's a lot more information available these days, especially here on YouTube. Literally, just like look up dissociative identity disorder and do the filter thing and go to channels and you'll find a bunch of them. Like, there is no shortage these days, which is really nice. So there's like all sorts of different presentation styles and vibes and everything.
We should name some of the main systems that we know of. The obvious is Dissociated. I mean, they did that giant video, which is amazing. Like, good for them for putting themselves out there like this.
Yeah, they jumped right on this ordeal. That was bomb.
Mm-hmm. You have Entropy System. This is another good one.
Fragmented Psyche is really good. The Ring System.
The Labyrinth System.
Yeah, Labyrinth System.
Lantern Sky, do they have a...
Oh yeah, Lantern Sky is really good too. They're Australian. That's cool.
So yeah, there's definitely no shortage of d.i.d. YouTubers out there to gain knowledge from.
Yeah, and looking deeper into disorders you suspect yourself of having is always a good idea. Being well-informed never hurts. Even if it turns out that you don't have the disorder you suspected yourself of having, it's always good to have information. Information is always good to have.
Alright, so that's what we have on this video.
Thank you for listening to our rant.
Quote-unquote rant.
Rant?
And if you guys have any questions about any of the information we've gone over, any of our previous videos, any of our future videos, let us know down in the comments.
And check out the description for plenty of links, some paragraphs with more words in them. We put lots of important words in our descriptions, so it is a great idea to read them. And on your way down, you should hit the like and subscribe button. Become a goblin.
Because if you don't know, our family here on YouTube is the Gob Squad. And if you want to become a family member of ours, you gotta hit that subscribe button to become a goblin. Hashtag God Squad.
It's the only way.
Alright guys, you guys have a good day or night, and we will see you
in the next video. I really don't know what to make of this whole situation, and another thing that I really don't know is, where did Trisha get her information? What I really want to know is, who told her that dissociative identity disorder and multiple personality disorder had some similarities and some differences? Who told her that? Where do you get that information? That's what I want to know. How? I feel like that Chuck E. Cheese meme just